cut you off a bit. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks. Welcome to episode 163.
Wow, glad
I
to be
know.
here. Thank you for having me.
Very welcome. Okay, so let's tell folks a little bit about you, and then I have a couple of hypothetical scenarios I'm going to toss you into.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds great. So my name is Kathy Guillory. I am based right outside of Portland, Maine. So
Hmm.
super, super North New England. I always describe it as just a little south of Canada.
I have
Um,
been to Portland,
you
believe me.
have. It is beautiful. I love
Hmm.
it. Absolutely love it. Not today though. It's snowing outside. But I am a fractional CMO. Have my own consultancy. It's called Bell Bear Marketing. I've been doing this for about a year and a half. And before that, I have 19 years of marketing experience. So I'm excited to be here and talk a little about my process and how the magic happens.
All right, excellent, excellent. All right, so let's start obliquely going through how things work. Okay,
Okay.
so uh, you've signed a contract. Today's day one. Your customer happens to be in Portland, Maine, and so you're going to see them physically on day one. What's the nightmare scenario you might be walking into, or what's the best case scenario that you would walk into?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think nightmare scenario is I walk in and they completely don't know what to expect, or they have a
Mhm.
very different expectation of what's going to happen or how it's all going to go. I try to avoid this by really being transparent about my
Yeah.
process up front, just on sales calls. But worst case scenario, I walk in and they hand me their old marketing stuff and they say, "Okay, we want a plan, right? Ready, set, go." So very little background information. And really an expectation that I'm going to be able to put something together for them that is specific to them within, a day or two.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, that's just not how it works,
No.
right? Ideal case, in most cases, I tend to go really, really deep and really, really broad within the first couple of weeks. So I do a comprehensive marketing audit where I literally look at everything inside the marketing operation, from landscape to competitors, do a SWOT analysis, down to their customers, validate their ICPs, look at acquisition, retention, looking at NPS scores, looking at strategy, previous activities, brand, both internal, external. And then also I look at the team, right? I look at the marketing infrastructure. Do they have the right people on the team? Do they have the
Right.
right vendors, contractors? Are they using the right tools, technology? And so I put all of that together. I put it in this nice little package. It almost looks like you're in school, right? You get a score of 0 to 100, get a grade for each area. And then I share it with the CEO and the leadership team, whoever needs to be involved. And we determine the priorities for addressing the issues, right? You can't do everything at once. And so, how do we prioritize it so it makes the most sense for the business? How do we spend the next year really solving the big problems so we don't solve a bunch of little problems and not move the needle?
All right. So it's still in our hypothetical. It's still day
Hmm.
one,
Sure.
and you're going to have your face-to-face sit down for 15 minutes with the CEO.
Yeah.
And the CEO says, Kathy, look, just plain facts here. You deal with a
Sure.
lot more CEOs than I deal with CMOs. And so
Sure.
is there something that I should start doing now that you're here so we can like squeeze every last penny of value out of your time here? Or is there something I should stop doing so that, I'm not holding you back or slowing you down?
Yeah, absolutely. I love this conversation. I tend to have this a lot too. I think what I always ask them to do is to just humor me and trust the process, right?
Hmm.
It may seem like a lot of it is off topic, right? Like, why are we doing a SWOT, right? Why do you need to see this? How does this apply to marketing? But I have a very, very broad view of marketing. I'm going to, right? I'm a CMO. So I tend to think
Right.
that every business problem can be a marketing problem and every business problem can be solved with better marketing. So I just ask them to really, really embrace the journey and go on the journey with me and trust me. And that will, I'll be very, very transparent along the way, and they'll start to see the value of their investment really quickly. Just
Right.
humor me and answer the questions, even if they seem very off topic.
Okay, the next three questions, different scenario. You're on stage, you're the speaker, 250 people are in the audience. Every one of them became a fractional CMO yesterday.
Ooh.
They're
Ouch.
fresh out of corporate.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to give you three openings to lines in your speech. You complete the thought with as much as you want. Okay.
Okay.
Number one, folks, I got to tell you, as new fractional CMOs, the thing you're going to be most shocked by is
Yeah. I got to tell you, the thing you're most shocked by is how quickly your existing referral network dries up.
Mm-hmm.
So you announce you're going fractional. The first 6 months or so, it's great, right? You're getting referrals from your former colleagues, from people who know you. It's all awesome. And then about 6, 7 months in, that dries out, and you really need to learn how to sell. You really need to learn how to build that pipeline and how to generate business from people who haven't worked with you directly. And so that's where I would say you should really be focusing in those first 6 months while you have the referrals coming in. How do I build the pipeline so month
Right.
7, I'm not scrambling trying to figure out where my next client's coming from?
Okay. Next one. And then on the client side, what you're going to notice is many clients do not understand what?
Yeah. Many clients do not really understand marketing, right? My clients, I would say most of the people I work with very, very closely are CEOs. CEOs don't come up through marketing. They come up through operations, they come up through
Right.
finance. So I think
Possibly
a
through
big
sales, but never
Possibly through
marketing.
sometimes, but very, very rarely marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think a big part of the job is to really manage up, right? To set expectations, to be really, really clear about short-term and long-term results, right? Because there are some marketing tactics that'll get your results really, really quickly, right? You want to run ads? Cool. You'll see results really quickly. You're talking about things like brand or SEO or a content strategy. That can take 12 to 18 months to start seeing results. So it is really up to the CMO to set those expectations up front and just make sure that everybody's on the same page right around the timeline.
All right. You're still on stage. It's the last part. The music's playing. They're trying to get you off, but you're trying to help these people before you're shuffled out with the cane that pulls your car. And they
Sure.
say, look, ultimately, you're going to need clients. If I've got like one more lesson to give you about getting an ideal client, here it is.
Yeah, this is a good one. This is one that marketers struggle with a lot.
Yeah.
Be as specific about your niche and your target audience as possible. And I know this is hard and it's really painful because you're like, I'm a marketer, I can market to anybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can, but when you are marketing to everybody, you're really marketing to nobody, right? So, as specific as you can be, you want to make it crystal clear in the early days exactly who you serve and who you don't serve. That way, you can focus when you're writing your content. You can write it for that one person, right? And that one person is going to read it and they're going to know, hey, they're really speaking to me.
Right.
That is really, really going to help you differentiate yourself because there are so many people going fractional right now. There's a lot of saturation in this
Really? I
market.
haven't heard that. Yeah.
A lot, a lot. This seems to be the go to, right?
Yeah.
Whether they're actually doing it or it's just while they're in transition, right? They want to look like they're doing it. It's tough. So you really, really want to be crystal clear about who your audience is, down to business size, if there's a geographic area, if there's a vertical, just be really clear so that everybody knows, hey, this is the person for me.
All right. So let's switch over. Your different hypothetical, kind of real,
Sure.
actually. You're
Sure.
talking to lots of prospects. You've talked to lots of prospects over the course of the years, right? Everyone, even people who don't have a background in marketing, feel like they understand very well at least some part of marketing, right? So
Sure.
as you're talking to companies and prospects these days, what do they mention or talk about to you that you think is overrated? And is there anything that's sort of underrated that you think more clients should appreciate because it would really benefit them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people are scared or anxious maybe about AI, right? They're nervous about exactly, do I still need a team of content people? Do I still need this? Do I still need to invest in humans developing content? And the immediate answer is yes, of course, right? You need humans doing the strategy, you need humans doing the storytelling, you need humans for the connection, and then you automate with the AI. That's typically the message.
Right.
I think a lot of CEOs in particular are worried about short-term results, right? As they should be. That's sort of
Mm-hmm.
their focus, right? So it's there have either been disruptions in the market or consolidation, or there's some sort of there's usually some sort of an external factor before I talk to them, right? There's always a question I ask in my discovery calls of like, why now, right? What has changed? Is it a mandate for growth? Is it expansion into a new market, new product line, M&A? Why are you making this investment right now? And 9 times out of 10, it's one of the above. And so they're worried about maintaining their market position, in the current landscape, whatever that looks like. So that's typically why they come to me, and then we put together a plan to really address it.
All right. Good answer. Okay. So this is either the easiest or hardest question in the entire
Sure.
podcast. What's marketing?
Ooh, I love this. This is my favorite. So I think that not even I think, I believe that every business problem is a marketing problem.
Hmm.
Genuinely, wholeheartedly, right? I think if you apply strategically, marketing is a lens through which all business decisions can be solved. Because marketing is what understands and communicates value, right? We solve customers' problems, we build long-term relationships
Right.
based on trust. So I genuinely think that every business problem can be improved through marketing.
But that's not what marketing is.
Yeah, it's the strategic lens through which you solve business
Yeah.
decisions. So whether it's something
That
like product,
right.
customer, right? It's your talent retention, acquisition, that's marketing.
Yeah.
I would say your competitive
True.
pressures,
Yeah, that's
solving
right.
those issues, your
I
expansion challenges.
I did hear some guy on a podcast a few months ago, um, and he came up with a line. I don't know if he uses it all the time or it's brand new. And he says, if you look at marketing is really good, like the marketing, the rest of the company gets to play the game on easy mode. Calls get
Oh, I love
returned,
that.
right? You can walk in, say who you are, and everyone that you wouldn't want to be known by knows you. He said, like they he says, the marketing team will play the game on insane mode so that the rest of the company gets to play the game on easy mode.
Mhm.
I
That's
thought
a
that was
really
pretty
good
good.
metaphor.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
yeah,
Absolutely. Right? I mean,
uh,
I think marketing, it's everything. It's everything from customer experience to product
yeah,
to, it's that classic example, right? It's what customers say about you when you're not in the room, right?
yeah.
It's that sum of all of those experiences and all of those touch points. And I think in order for that to be successful, for that really the delivery of that brand promise to be successful, every function within the organization needs to be aligned. And I think marketing can help do that.
No, that's excellent. I really like that one. Okay, so you're talking to various clients. You don't want, not all of them are going to be prospects. Not all of them are going to become clients. Some of them because you're not for them, and some of them because they're not for you,
Sure.
right? And so, as you're talking to uh, prospective clients, what are a couple of red flags and what are a couple of green flags that you look
Yeah,
for?
absolutely. So the big one is, do they have a marketing team? Right? That's a big one. The answer I'm looking for is yes, right? So over the last few years, I've tried to make exceptions to this. I've tried to try to rationalize my way
Right.
into, oh, I love this client. I can really help them. And if I am the only person that they are bringing on to do marketing, they're not going to be successful, right?
No.
We are not going to be successful. So in order for me to really come into an organization and add value, they need at least two full-time people who are already executing marketing.
Hmm.
Because I can bring the strategy, I can bring the plans, I can bring the oversight, I can bring the KPIs. But if they are expecting me to do everything start to finish, it's going to get very, very costly. It's just not a good use of my time. It's not a good use of their resources, and we're not going to get the desired results. So I really look for a company that's established enough that has at least two people who can support the execution.
So if they don't have at least a small team, that's a big red flag.
It is. It is a very big
Right.
red flag. In fact, I would probably sign on to do like a consulting project or something
Right.
very specific, right? But I would not go in to be a fractional CMO for them because I think it would not work out well for either of us, right? I always want the relationship to be successful for all parties, and if I can't deliver on the results, I'm not going to sign up.
Right. And then, other than having a team in place, what sort of another way of green flag saying something's a green flag is your ideal customer would have the following like positive attribute, right? What's a green flag or for an ideal customer?
Yeah, absolutely. My ideal customer would view marketing as an investment, right?
Okay.
So I always look
Right.
for some
Right.
of those words, right? Whenever I put proposals together, whenever I talk about marketing, I always say marketing investment because I very wholeheartedly believe that, right? Marketing is an investment in your growth. So anybody who uses some of that language would immediately get in my, green column of, okay, this person really understands. Anybody who is just through the discovery conversations, anybody who just gives me signals that they're open to change and open to doing things a different way, right? Because everybody wants help and everybody thinks they want help until you tell them that their behavior is the one that has to change, right? Or they
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
make certain business changes to align with that. So I really look at that, right? How adaptable are they? I'll ask some questions around that, like how quickly have they pivoted with their activities before? Um, Really trying to figure out what the what their appetite is for actually changing.
No, that's good. Are speaking of changing, over the last, I mean, the economy's been up and down. A lot of it change, like in the industry and every industry and AI and so on, and marketing generally. Like, do you think that priorities or strategies are shifting, or are you having the same conversations you'd have had 5 years ago?
I'm having very similar conversations.
Yeah.
What's changing is how we get there, right? So the goals are still the same, right?
Mhm.
That's still, I want more market share. I want to increase sales. I want to go into a new market. I want to grow. I want to do this, right?
Right.
The how do we get there is changing. How do we get there? How do we really streamline efficiency in getting there? So even just as far as building a scalable marketing team, right? Building a successful marketing operation, how to go about that is different now than it was 5 years ago. Right now, we can leverage certain automation tools. We can leverage AI where we don't necessarily need 3, 4 people writing content. Right, it's something that could be done with one or two, and then it can be automated using some of
Yes, it
these
can.
other tools. So that's where the secret sauce is. It's less the what the goal is. It's how do we get there.
Uh, what you like offer or specialize in, like your service offering, is it getting smaller over the years or bigger? Like, do you do
It's getting
fewer
small.
things but more
Yeah,
specialized, or
I do fewer things and more specialized. Absolutely. So when I first started the business, I was hungry and I was trying to
yeah?
grow. And I was like, I need clients, right? I need to sort of keep the lights on and build my reputation and build up the base and the pipeline. So I would say yes to a lot of projects
Hmm.
that I could do that weren't necessarily in my sweet spot. Right. So really what I'm focusing on is strategy work, right? I'm focusing a lot on these marketing audits because I think they're a fantastic way to really get to know the business and provide value very quickly. I'm offering very specific types of support that I feel like are my unique superpower that they can't just go and get somewhere else, right? And then I tend to outsource a lot of the execution if they don't have the resources to support that in house.
I saw this tweet last year, and I tried most of last year to beat it, as in like this, except in this case, but not in that case, and I can't, and so I gave up, and I'm just going to assume it's true, which is the more clearly you can explain what you do, the more you can charge.
Yeah, absolutely. I've played around with this, right? Just with different
Mm,
types of like LinkedIn messaging and, on sales calls. And I get this question of like, well, what is a fractional CMO, right? Aren't you
yeah,
just a glorified marketing consultant?
right.
And,
Yeah,
I've distilled it down to really 4 words, right? It's different. So I am a fast, focused, embedded executive. Right. And so I think if you can like really distill that down to just like those 4 words, like fast, I can come in and I can onboard really quickly. Right. I can start adding value to your business from day one. Focused, I can focus on the big picture goals, whereas your team is working with competing priorities, day to day execution. Embedded, right? Part of the value
right.
proposition is I'm actually sitting there, I'm leading the team, I'm part of the leadership team, right? I'm really immersed in the business. And then the last piece is I'm an executive, right? A lot of times you get marketing consultants who will have a very specific focus. It's either SEO or digital
Hmm.
strategy or customer acquisition or wherever, but they're not always executive level people, right? And so one of the pieces of the value prop is, I have 19 years of experience. So when I come in, you're getting access to my 19 years of experience from day one.
All right. Okay. Now, we normally have two guests, but every once in a while we have one guest.
Sure.
At this point of the podcast, what I like to do is I let anyone ask anyone else in the podcast any question that they want.
Mhm.
You can either ask me a question, because it's just two of us today,
Sure.
or having personally met and spoken with and had multiple conversations with, at this point, 450 ish fractional CMOs. I can almost be a proxy for a fractional CMO if you want to ask certain kinds of questions. But if you have a question, you can fire away. Otherwise, I want to move into who should be contacting you these days.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do. I have a question for you just based on your
Sure.
conversation with CMOs. What is their outlook on the future? So do they see more people going fractional? Is this are we sort of the early adopters on this wave? Is it going to stay pretty flat? What is the expectation around that?
I generally the expectation seems to be, and I checked the other day, I'm now like first degree connected to about 2,000 fractional CMOs on LinkedIn. It's just been, I mean, they are the biggest customer base in my company. So I talk all,
I love it.
you know, they tend not to be my clients, of course. You guys have a Rolodex of people, an SEO person, a graphics lady, whatever, and I'm just one of those specialists. Um, their their expectation is that the sort of, in my terms, the gigification of this kind of work is going to continue, just because it's continuing across almost all positions in the economy.
Sure.
And of course, the biggest challenge is that a lot of people are moving into this field who have never actually been in charge of anything in marketing, right? But they're 24 and they've decided to call themselves like a fractional CMO.
Sure.
The people who
Yeah.
are 25 or older don't like the 24-year-olds who do that. The
Sure.
people who are 35 don't like the 34-year-olds and under who are doing that. But so you get sort of a it's sort of the it's like title deflation.
Sure.
Right? It gets harder and harder to there's still an education process of explaining what it is a fractional CMO does to prospective clients, and B, why the person they're talking to who's only going to charge 40% of what you're talking about is probably not an apples to apples comparison.
Of course.
Mm.
Yeah. I think that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
That certainly makes sense. And I would say as the economy contracts, right, and more marketers, more junior kind of mid-career marketers are pushed out for whatever reason, we're going to see a bigger influx of that as well, right? More people just hanging their own shingle and calling themselves experts, and they very well could be experts in their specific subject matter, but chances are, at 24, 25, you probably don't have enough experience to really call yourself a fractional CMO.
Yeah. I check in once a year on LinkedIn where I do a search globally across the world for everyone who's currently titled fractional CMO. And 3 years ago, I was connected to about 400 of them, and that was 23% of the total. And then 3 years ago, I was connected to like 1,300 of them, and I was still at 23% of the global. And now I'm connected to 2,000, and it's still 23% of the global. So
That's hilarious.
it's ballooning, right, for the number of people that on LinkedIn.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Okay. So
Okay.
the tide is moving in that direction, you think?
Oh yeah. There will be way more people coming. This field is not shaking out yet. A lot more people. A lot of companies like this sort of like fractional
Sure.
gig economy kind of. And I mean, in fairness, CMOs were always the shortest tenure or one of the
Of
two
course.
shortest tenure positions,
Of
right?
course.
CMOs cycle in and out of companies all the time anyway. It's not that much of a difference to have one that you hire knowing all around that this is only going to last for like a year or so, or whatever.
Of course.
Yeah.
Sure. That makes sense.
So who should be reaching out to you these days, and what's the best way for them to get to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you could find me on LinkedIn,
Mhm.
Kathy Guillory. I am in the market for focusing on animal brands right now. So
Mm,
really focusing on that niche of pet care, animal health. Looking for businesses who have a marketing team. So again, about 2 people or so,
right.
typically in the 5 million a year and up range from a revenue perspective. And I'm here to really focus on solving the bigger problems. So either new product lines, market expansion, M&A, franchising opportunities. Really trying to help companies that are in that growth mode, right? So something is changing either in the market or internally, and they are looking to grow aggressively.
Okay. So broadly speaking, when it comes to marketing and marketing operations, right?
Hmm.
Every company is either learning to crawl, learning to walk, learning to run, or they're building a rocket. Which of those four
Yeah,
stages do most of your customers fall into?
yeah, I would say either the walk or the rocket,
Okay.
right? That is probably where it makes the most sense, right?
Okay.
Because when
Cool.
you're learning to crawl and learning to walk, it's going to be a little
Yeah.
bit too soon.
All right. All right, Kathy, this has been great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I pushed you on a couple of questions that I don't normally ask
I love
people.
it.
It's great when you can like only have one guest. You have like no time constraint, really. All right.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dean. I appreciate it.
Thank you. See you next time, hopefully.
Yes.
Bye.